Well, it's been Royal Ascot week this week, hence the reason why I'm dressed up in my best bib and tucker. But it's been great to see the Princess of Wales back at the Royal Racecourse.
And is Meghan Markle returning to the UK? Who cares? Well, we're going to debate it anyway. Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into the fascinating world of two of the most recognized royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
And I tell you what, over the last few days, it's been a pretty busy time for the royal family, and particularly for the Prince and Princess of Wales. I know Kinsey's been pretty close up and personal with them. I wasn't so, but I'll have all the news on the Prince and Princess of Wales.
All right, let's okay, first we should talk about the decision from Prince George because it's a fun little debate we've had on this show a couple of times. I think we both feel like we want to respect the family's privacy as much as possible, but this is an announcement that they made themselves. Are you surprised that Prince George is going to attend Eton? What's your response to that decision? I think that it's a lovely place for him to go and follow in his father's footsteps.
Well, I know you've been in Windsor, so you would have looked over at Eton. I know that well, bearing in mind William went there, and I think he was pretty happy there. I don't think there's any. So he's, probably thinking, well, it worked for me, and within the sort of nature of the royal family, it's not straightforward. And I think Eton is probably somewhere where I think it won't create. It's not creating a fuss. Like if you go to somewhere that had been a different school that wasn't necessarily on the royal rota, if you know what I mean. It tends to have been Eton, particularly for the male members. Okay, Princess Anne's children went up to Gordonston, and so there is a different dynamic. But I think going to Eton seems sensible. He's obviously very close to where they live at Forest Lodge. So the logistics of popping over to see him play the Eton Wall game, which is a mystery to absolutely everyone except for a few Etonians, will be easily done and going to watch them play sport or whatever. So I think from a logistical point of view, the question then comes later on down the line, what do they do with Princess Charlotte? Because obviously Eton is an all-boys school. So that will then maybe give them something to think about in terms of where they send her. So I would suggest that in her case, favourites to see her education, and again, this is in the area of speculation. I would suggest that Marlborough might be on the cards there because that is, of course, where the Princess of Wales went to school when she was in her teenage years. So, but again, that's a couple of years down the line. But in September, he would have sat common entrance, which is what all you have to well, not all you have to do, you have to pass that to get in. And he has obviously sat that and will now take you up his place in September at Eton. And as you know, you've been in Windsor in this past week at this time of year, down by the Thames. It's a lovely place to go to school.
And I can only imagine how nice that will be to be so close to your mom and dad and kind of the festivities that regularly happen around Windsor. I mean, yes, he's going to have to focus on school, but there's a lot of fun energy going on in that area. And I love the stories about a young Prince William having so much freedom there that he could walk from school to visit with his grandmother. They'd sit down for tea and for sandwiches and for cake and for cookies. And she would walk him through some of the family history. Maybe we'll see something similar with Prince George and King Charles, because it's my understanding. I was just speaking to people there that said King Charles actually spends a lot of time in Windsor. That is a special place to him too. Not as much time as Queen Elizabeth did, but it is a special place for King Charles.
Yeah, and I think it all makes sense. There's also the security element because it's within Windsor, and bearing in mind there is probably a bit more because of the royal presence around there. There is a bit more security, so that all adds. Eton are used to it. I mean, obviously, it's a school where the fees are £63,000 a year at the moment, and he will be funding, Prince William will be funding it like any other parent who sends their children to a public school. Um, And I know, obviously, your education was very different. I was sent away at school.
Yeah,
The logistics.
I heard you told some of our mutual friends that I was homeschooled, so I might be a little quirky, Rupert.
School, it's not something I would do, but you come out normal. And I'm look, having spent a few days with you, you're perfectly fine. But I don't comprehend the homeschooling process.
Yeah.
But obviously, your parents took a view that, right, this will work. And for you. Now, we don't, homeschooling happens in this country, but I think it's probably, I don't know whether it's more of a thing in America than it is over here. I just don't know. I can't compare like with like, but what I can say is that I was sent away, and I never, as I say, we've spoken about it before, never saw my parents. Once I was dropped off, it was sort of, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And for an example, this is Royal Ascot week, and my school, Heatherdown, the prep school I went to, is just by Ascot Racecourse.
Oh, wow.
Well, and if your parents went to Royal Ascot, you would suddenly be summoned if your parents, having had a day at the races, deigned to think, oh God, little Rupert's at school there. Perhaps we ought to. We've just driven. We ought to just see if he's still all right. So you get summoned by the headmaster. Bell, your parents have come. Can you come into the headmaster's drawing room? And you have a sort of 10-minute sort of meeting with your parents, and then off they'd go.
And
So
they look
that
really
was all.
nice in their Royal Ascot outfit, and you're
Well,
like,
well, even
wait,
yes, and then
Rupert,
you're.
am I saying it right? Ask it, because I've seen so many people say it Ascot, and I'm like, wait, I'm saying ask it. Am I saying it wrong?
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I
Okay.
cannot create, it is like a cut, right? It's Ascot, right? You're Ascot, Ascot.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying it correctly. You do not say Ascot.
Ascot. Yes.
Do
Okay.
not.
We
No,
have
no,
this
you know.
conversation every year, but I think because I'm hearing it in my
Yeah.
head wrong so much right now, I'm like, wait, am I the
Well, no,
crazy
no,
one?
you're absolutely on message. You've got it right. Well, look, you're getting more and more anglicized with every time we talk to each other. So you're suddenly going to lose your Californian twang. I would have
Let's
thought
hope.
before,
Let's hope I
well, because you've certainly you would have heard of. I know that where you've been for the last few days, and obviously I saw you at the trooping. You would be hearing a certain kind of English accent you were hearing. So Ascot would be the way, and it is. And Ascot actually, there's a story that when a new TV company took over, that Ascot actually briefed the presenters of how they should pronounce it, because
Hmm.
obviously they're.
Yeah. They're
And
representing him.
representing the event, and it's what it's how it's pronounced. Why it's pronounced like that? That's one of the vagaries of the English language. Why do Americans say something's a certain way? It's something quite normal. But for Ascot, it's good to see. And back to the Eton point, I think it's a good one. But obviously, down the line, it probably then means that Louis will end up going there as well. And with Charlotte, obviously, a slightly different dynamic, and maybe she will be going somewhere else as such as, unless Eton changes its system and no longer is just having boys and will become co-educational. I think it's unlikely then that Charlotte will be going to Eton unless they have a
Can I tell you
dramatic.
that Hugo Vickers told me a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, that people that work at Eton, there has been young women that their parent works at Eton that have occasionally been educated there because of their contacts at Eton. So it is an all boys school, but occasionally, according to Hugo Vickers, who went to Eton, there, if you are well connected and you're a young woman, you can be educated at Eton. And so he has suggested that perhaps Princess Charlotte could be educated at Eton. However, I do believe that the Princess of Wales would want her to have a regular school experience with, male and female friends, not surrounded by a bunch of boys and limited, limited friendship opportunities. The young women, the friends you make as a young woman, especially in that position that they are in where you can't really trust people. What do you want from me? The friendships they develop as young people are so important. Prince William is still surrounded by a lot of his friends from Eton.
Yeah, and I think, most people, wherever people go to school, they're always surrounded by those friends, whichever type of school you go to. It's so important. But yes, and I remember I went to Stowe near Buckingham, and during my time, they went co-educational. And the first five girls who turned up, it must have been incredibly tough on them. But now the school has now branched out to its 60-40 and is a very, very good co-educational school. But in the 70s, they decided to go co-educational. Now, a lot of these schools have done it probably actually there was pressure to actually, if you had a young sibling, a boy and a girl, the parents were saying, well, why can't you have a girls' section of this school? And so there has been a change. And I think there's also for economic reasons they've done it, because obviously that means they have a wider pool of potential pupils. And obviously it's very expensive to send people to some of these schools. So they've got to make sure they have the potential to attract a wider pool of students. But for Eton, obviously the history of the place, it is a strictly boys' school. Yes, there will be, but one of the reasons is, Princess of Wales, very sporty. If Charlotte goes to Eton, there won't be that much opportunity for sport. But if, say, she goes to Marlborough, there will be huge opportunities for her
Mm-hmm.
to be a sporting person, the music side, whatever. So there will be plenty of scope. But that's down the line. For Eton, it makes a perfect sense that George goes there. It won't create a ripple in terms of people going surprised within the Eton framework. It will not make a ripple in terms of how they manage it because they've got experience of doing it.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this exciting development with Prince William. He's going to be the guest editor of Country Life magazine. I've seen so many great compliments about this magazine recently, about just how stellar it is and superior it is. And they have my vote now that we have this handsome new guest editor. What might this look like for Prince William? What might this magazine look like? Are we going to see some of his hobbies and interests and passions?
I think the whole thing will be designed around his love of the countryside. It's an establishment magazine. To give it some credit, if you don't know about it, they always have there's always it was a picture. There would always be the front. They'd have masses of house adverts. Then there would always be a picture of some debutant who was being announced to society. And that still goes on, but it's definitely changed its sort
Do
of
they ever
context.
announce 41-year-old debutantes?
Uh, I don't know. Who's 41? You're not 41. What are you? I'm sorry. Are you? I have no idea. Anyway, that's taken me by surprise. I thought you were
Because
much
I'm
younger.
so young at heart.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Anyways, always that's good confession time on. You should never see no one. No, a gentleman should never ask a woman her age. It's
I
just.
just had somebody else tell me this too. Somebody else who's a producer in Hollywood was like,
Mm,
"Stop telling people your age." And
right.
I said,
Uh,
"Why? I'm proud of my age. I'm proud that I,
well,
I,
yeah. Well, no, I think you can't get away from it. You are what you
no,
are.
I am. I'm
But
geriatric, and I'm proud of it. I
hang
like a
on.
good dinner I like my dinner at 4 p.m. I like to crawl into bed on Fridays and watch murder mysteries. I am who I am,
Okay.
Rupert.
Well, I'm fully aware of that, and well, I mean, if you're geriatric, what does that make me? But where were we? The news,
Country life,
the Country
debutantes.
Life. So it's a very much an establishment magazine, but it has been very clever. It's had guest editors like David Beckham. The King has done it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Queen Camilla has done it. So
Uh-huh.
they've made this thing of occasionally having someone high profile to come along and be a guest editor. And Prince William will edit an edition that comes out in November. I'm told it will focus very much on some of his environmental projects that he's doing within the rural environment, rural mental health, because it is a big issue in rural communities, the mental
Mm-hmm.
health. Farming is a tough life and it does create mental problems. So I think it's something that will be featured. And so he worked very closely. So I think that'll be the tone of it. It obviously will be an edition that will sell well. They're very clever in who they pick. And I think it will be a fascinating to see that how it progresses. And in the end, look forward to it in November. But Country Life is a good magazine. I have to say, I appeared. I'm wearing clothes that actually I got as a result of a photo shoot I did for Country Life with my son Ollie.
I've seen
Um,
those pictures. They're so cute. We showed them on the show one time.
yeah, yeah, and that's ahead of Royal Ascot a couple 3 years back. I'm
How
still
is
able to get
Ollie?
in.
How is Ollie now?
Well, Ollie's fine. Ollie's fine. He's been working at Ascot, but I don't. Our paths don't cross because obviously I'm doing different things, and he's doing his shtick. But as I say, he anyway. We did this photo shoot, so I have been appeared on the back page of Country Life. So,
You're
but
kind of a big deal, Rupert. We've got a model on our hands, a cover boy.
well, that's the only time. But I did get a morning suit, a waistcoat, a tie, and a pair of trousers. So I'm very happy as a result of that.
So we have something to look forward to come November. We will be flipping through the pages of Country Life, getting a little insight into Prince William's passions and loves, and that is something to be excited about. Something that I had forgotten about, thankfully, because we were so it's been like you said, we've seen so much of the Prince and Princess of Wales lately that we haven't really been dwelling on 2024. But remember the Mirror? Russell Myers, I believe, in the Mirror originally broke the story that somebody had hacked Princess Catherine's private records at a hospital. I believe I saw Russell post today that that person ultimately was terminated. Here's the announcement we got today. Breaking news: a former healthcare worker at the London clinic has been cautioned by the Information Commissioner's Office over the deliberate misuse of the Princess of Wales' private medical records and offering to disclose them for financial gain. Absolutely repulsive, Rupert. Clearly we want this person to be whatever cautioned means and maybe another level up if that's an option. But you know, that was such a stressful time for them. Any clue as to why this is coming back around now?
I think they've just done the investigation into it, and that it's come out now and looked at it. It's taken some time, but obviously, people work. It is a horrible thing to try and cash in on something like that. And hopefully, the actions of this investigation will just make sure that other people think twice before doing it. Because anyone, whoever you are, royalty or anybody else, your medical records are private. They are yours between you and your doctor, and they
Right.
should not be made public. Unless, if I want to reveal I've got something, then you have every right to. But under, the King and the Princess of Wales have been, the King has drip fed a little bit of information. It's been kept very private and absolutely right with regard to the Princess of Wales. And actually, you look at her, and having seen her at Ascot today, she looked to be beaming. She looked to be in pretty rude health. And you have to say she looked to be having a thoroughly enjoyable time. Her mother was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose it's not going to attract that much attention because it's happened, and actually now beginning to look that, that hopefully the really dark days are behind you, as we know and we've spoken about. You never know with the wretched C word what it can produce down the line, but obviously it should never have even no one this person should never even contemplated doing
Right.
this.
Yeah.
So I have to
Evil,
say,
evil, evil is how
I,
I would describe that. Evil and
yeah,
soulless.
and yeah, and just uh, I don't know what led her to even thinking about doing it. So
Can I
I
can I also
hopefully.
say there's a I'm sure you've seen this discussion happening. There I Christopher Anderson has been very kind to me in the past, and I appreciate his kindness, the author of a new book about Catherine. But I have refused to acknowledge that book or promote that book because he goes into some of Catherine's medical issues that are highly sensitive and personal, and I think it's incredibly disrespectful. And so I'm not gonna I refuse to promote it. I'm not going to um I we're just not going to promote it. And I think that it's interesting that as he's tried to defend that violation of privacy throughout his media interviews, we get this reminder that ultimately it is a violation of privacy, and she does deserve the respect that, you know, she should just have. I mean, I do think we have different expectations because Harry and Meghan have overshared. Remember, Meghan wrote that piece in the New York Times about a miscarriage. I mean, I think that they have unfairly almost changed public expectation as to what's fair game, but this is not. Catherine's, you know, physical journey
Oh,
is hers and hers alone.
well, yeah, I think you're right. We shouldn't. That book does not deserve the oxygen of publicity if he's going to be revealing medical secrets.
That
I
I
think
don't
all you
even
need to,
believe he has access to, by the way. I don't even,
well,
you know.
but whatever. I think they'll be take a pretty dim view about if they serialize it in this country. I'm pretty sure that won't be elements of that will not make anywhere near because it would be a very reckless of whatever publication did that. So I hope that that is able to be parked and the lawyers or someone advises him to say, okay, back off. And don't do that. But that's down the line. But I'm glad that this has sort of drawn a line under it and that everyone can move on. But obviously, over this last few days, as you know, Kinsey, we have seen a lot of the Princess of Wales. And I'll tell you what, having gone to the trooping with you, I mean, you were like a when they the carriage went past us. I've never seen someone get so excited when she with her and the three children as she went past. I have to say, my biggest takeaway from the trooping was a marvelous occasion. With my old regiment, the Grenadier Guards, performing magnificently. But more importantly, on the dais, and we were privileged enough to have the most fantastic seats. Uh, we weren't that far away from the dais, but the point I got from that, yes, the King and Queen were on that dais, but to see the Princess of Wales in such a prominent position, sitting on the dais, I think there was a degree of symbolism about that. Because let's be honest, there will be a time when she will be sitting. I don't know, well, when does Prince William, bearing in mind the Queen used to do the trooping on horseback,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when she would stand and be there for well, I think probably well into maybe into her 70s. I don't know for sure. Uh, so there will be a time that William will be doing that. Will he do it on a dais or and then he will have his wife by his side. So I thought that was quite a symbolic moment. It's sort of elevating the symbolism of that. You've got the Queen and the future Queen sitting there, and with the King in the middle. So I thought that was quite a symbolic moment. That was my big takeaway of what was a lovely day weather-wise. As you say, we had the most brilliant seats and able to watch my old regiment strut their stuff. And then, of course, we repaired afterwards to a very nice the Wellington Barracks for a nice pulled pork, I think it was,
Was it?
as well. A pulled pork and very nice on a lovely summer's day, and I thought it was terrific. But that was my big takeaway of the the King's birthday parade, aka
Was
the
it,
trooping of the
were
colour.
you thinking to yourself, because you know, I'm sure you're asked about this as often as I am, is there friction between Prince William and King Charles? You know, to me, having Catherine seated where she was so prominently, to me it's the palace recognizing that the Princess of Wales is box office, and they aren't jealous. They recognize it, they celebrate it, they understand it, and so they're going to give her that starring role, because they know that she's blossoming in it.
And I have to say, that's why the Ascot authorities would have been absolutely delighted that she's returned. And she was wearing a striking yellow outfit. I don't know whether you've seen it, but
Of
it was a
course, I
strike.
have. I've
Uh,
retweeted a
it,
million
it,
beautiful videos and pictures. I also saw someone compliment her. She was getting in the carriage, and the way she said thank you was so very sweet. I just adore this woman.
Well, yeah, and I think, look, she knows how to behave, and manners. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of a please and thank you. It goes
Mhm.
a long way,
Well, and
and
watching her curtsy to the king and the queen, her curtsy is just, oh my gosh, I could never.
and
I could never.
but what I was also thinking, yes, and you've been talking about the friction. Well, clearly the royal family's got lots of frictions, but there will be tensions about within the royal family about how they deal with their problems. And I think William may have a different view. And so it will no doubt around the dinner table might create a friction. But I have to say, looking at today's body language between not only the king and his son, but also with Catherine, you look, we know they're in the on the show, but there was no indication that there was any a problem with the relationship. The best thing to take away from the royal meeting so far is the king's relationship with Mike Tyndall. I don't,
Mm,
which is absolutely that. I mean, you were allowed to touch the Queen, but it seems like Tyndall has got free rein to sort of slap him on the shoulder. And there
yeah.
was a funny moment when he doffed his top hat, Mike Tyndall, something fell out. And people used to keep something in their top hats, but he must have put a note or something. I mustn't forget this. So he put it in, and it looked like it fell to the ground. And that made what caused a joke between the King and Mike Tyndall. Well, their body language was off the charts. But I
Yeah.
think with the King and Prince William, there was nothing to indicate that there's a great deal of affection. But obviously, they have issues to resolve, and they may see resolving those something they see a different approach. But
Yeah, I
I'm
just
sure
don't,
all
I
families
hate that
have.
question because I'm like, who doesn't have conflict every once in a while? And they have so much more pressure than a normal family does because we're all debating everything all the
Yeah,
time. I mean, I thought
yeah.
when I walked down the mall to see them on the balcony of our friend Miranda made fun of the way I say Buckingham Palace. So I'm trying to say Buckingham. She's like,
It's
you say
Buckingham.
Buckingham.
Oh no! Oh, see,
Bucking,
this is an example of another one.
yeah,
Ascot,
Buckingham, Buckingham,
Buckingham.
Buckingham,
When
Buckingham
and
Palace.
I, yeah, Buckingham Palace, and I went to Stowe School near Buckingham, the town
Yeah,
of Buckingham. So
Buckingham.
Buckingham, it's Buckingham. You sorry, say it quickly.
Yeah,
You know,
Buckingham. She's
do
like, you
not
say
open your.
Buckingham. And I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I do. So,
it's Buckingham. It's almost like you're not really opening your mouth to say it. But Buckingham Palace, yes, that's how. When you
well,
were
so
walking down,
but they were laughing together. They were enjoying, the king and Prince William were engaging on the balcony. They were laughing with one another. Yeah, I'm sure that there are some arguments, but when are there not? I mean, I could list three or four that I've had recently with my family. I just think it's a silly conversation because at the end of the day, I think that they are more united than they ever would have been due to the absence of Prince Harry.
and I think also due to the coming together of the medical situation, it
Mm-hmm.
does focus the mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fine, but the picture of Buckingham Palace was actually very interesting. It was obviously poignant to see the Duke of Kent there. Obviously he lost his wife relatively recently, but he's in his 90s. Seeing him on there, that's a sort of reflection of the older generation, but he was proudly standing there for the
And
fly
still
past.
works, Rupert, still goes
Yeah.
and represents the family all over the place. He's an incredible ambassador.
Yes, and just quietly gets on with it. And obviously, as we say, quite elderly, a little frail, but still that sort of very upright figure there, very proudly standing there representing the royal family. You then saw the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. You saw obviously the Princess Royal with her husband, and then you saw William and his wife, and the three children, and obviously the King and Queen. So it's a very much a pared down, but that's almost the modern monarchy in a nutshell. That's it. And that, as we say, is still going to be a problem, but because they are thin on the ground in terms of personnel. But it was still the fly past. I only saw it surrounded by trees, so I only got a glimpse. But you obviously got a pretty meaty glimpse of the red arrows flying overhead and cheering with a substantial crowd watching outside Buckingham Palace and on the Mall.
I don't know. I was probably looking at Matt Wilkinson.
Okay, that's another story. We need to move on. And poor old
Were
Matt.
you were you jealous when I took off with Matt
Uh,
Wilkinson and I left you
I,
alone at trooping?
well, I coped. I was all right.
He came up to me at our picnic later and he was like, my wife for the day left me all alone.
I, I was stood up. Well, you were my wife today because sadly my poor wife wasn't particularly well that day, so she couldn't come along. And then
I'm going to
I,
take
so
her
I,
for tea the next time I'm in town. I'm going to take her for tea.
well,
Hopefully she'll come see me.
well, well, we'll make a point of doing that. But the point is, you left me, and so I was suddenly on my own. But I coped. I managed to find people to talk to. So I dealt with rejection as you scooted off to go and do your thing. I took it on the chin,
I would
and
never reject you. I love you. Did you want to go with us? You could have gone with us, but it was quite a
no, no,
walk.
no. Look, I'm not that. Look, I know I'm not that. I can walk, but I was quite happy doing my thing and getting for lunch because and then sitting down. It was a lovely day and great to see. But I know that obviously we haven't talked about the fact that you did. What else did you, well,
I
you
met
did
Queen
Buckingham Palace?
Camilla, which was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
The Garter Day was beautiful. To be inside the church was really unbelievable and felt very special. I went to church with the king. You know, I loved praying with the king, singing God Save the King while he's 4 feet away from you is pretty incredible.
You were
Uh,
that.
yeah.
You were that close.
I mean, I'm
Crumbs.
telling you, there were maybe 15 people in the room.
Jeepers for the service.
Yeah, for not for Garter, but for the church service. Yeah.
Yeah. Crumbs.
I know, and
Oh,
that well,
crumbs.
and the choir, but like of
Oh yeah.
regular of people there to worship. It was a pretty small group of people, and yeah, it was the best trip I've ever had to London, without a doubt,
Well,
the best trip.
you were VIPing it throughout, and look, this is a big royal time,
Yes,
and sort of in the public facing side of the royal, with the garden parties. In time, then he'll go up to Scotland and he'll do some similar garden parties. He's going to spend time, sometime in residence in Holyrood Palace. So there's some significant moments throughout the year, and obviously the royal meeting is one of them. The semi-private state occasion, the symbolism of that, the trooping, that ceremony you went to at traditional, everyone dressed up in their ermine I don't know how hot it was, but it must be pretty hot, I would suggest, for the participants. So I have to say you lucked out this latest trip. So
I am
I'm
seeing
quite jealous.
people disappointed that I didn't go to Ascot, but Ascot is a if you've had a week worth of royal events, and then Ascot is like an entirely different requirement physically. You know, am I just being again geriatric?
Oh, well, I think that you've done enough, and you've done Ascot, right? You've done it. You've
Yeah.
been, right?
Yeah.
And I think you've seen it. So it's like the way you went over the last week, you really smashed it out the ballpark, to use an American phrase.
Thank you.
So in terms of what you got to see and do. So Ascot might have actually seen a bit of an anticlimax because actually you were in quite private environments.
Hmm.
Today, there were probably 50,000 people there. So you're sharing the royal family with 50,000 other people. So
Yeah.
I think you probably took the right choice. And
Thank you.
but it was you've seen the royal family doing what it does well, and the significance. There's a lot of political stuff going on, and particularly about our defence, and we've had all kinds of issues going on politically. But it was great to see GBPLC, i.e., the shop window, which is what the royal family bring, and occasions like the trooping, we do them better than lots of other countries and bring huge number of tourists. You were walking down the mall, the number of tourist voices you would have heard reflect the significance of an occasion like that and what it means and how it projects the country and the significance of the royal family. Even though I don't know whether you saw, but there were some protesters, but
I
it's a
saw
free
him.
country and a free country. But as I always say, if you're going to get rid of the monarchy, what are you going to get rid of it with? Because
Hmm.
what will be the system that actually will work?
And then
Uh,
what are you
uh,
going to do? What do you if you get rid of the monarchy? What because it seems like this. It's clearly you're unemployed. If you have so much time to protest the British royal family with your big yellow flags, then what are you going to do? Who are you going to
well,
protest then?
I know that I think what the royal family have to always be aware, and William will have to be aware that we have to keep the court of public opinion on their side, and it hasn't always been easy over the years. But events like what's happened and the positivity surrounding them, and I've heard the cheers as the royal family have arrived at Ascot. Okay, it's almost like it's an open goal, so you're probably going to get everyone's going to support them. But there was general affection, and even I heard three cheers as he was just walking out of the parade ring to go back to his royal box. That actually reflects the warmth and affection there is for him.
Yeah.
And for William, he's had his day at Ascot, but obviously down the line it will be interesting again. What will happen when he becomes king? Will he have the same level of affection for it that his father had? No one's going to surpass the affection for Royal Ascot and what it meant to her than the late Queen. But the King has had runners here. He enjoys the experience, and you can see that meeting the people. But for William, it's a different vibe.
Oh,
And
I
so I
really thought
wonder,
I looked I when I saw William and Catherine today, and I can send you some of those videos I'm referring to. But Prince William looked sincerely happy to be there. He was sitting in the carriage with the Princess of Wales, and they were joking around with people on the other side of the carriage. And I actually was surprised by how happy he seemed to be there.
yeah, I think he had in his the Duke of Richmond, who runs the Goodwood estate, and his wife in his, so maybe good friends, very
Well, no,
relaxed.
he was talking to people people that were fans. He was
All
talking,
right.
yeah, like
I haven't seen.
I'm
Well,
going to send
well,
it
from
to you
my,
because it was very
uh,
funny and animated. I wish I could understand what the woman says to him, but it's a joke and he plays along with the joke.
well, he's a good sport, and actually, he then presented the trophy after the big race, the Prince of Wales's Stakes, fairly for obvious reasons,
Mhm.
and with his wife to his side. So there was plenty of photo ops, and they're not stupid. He knows that that's what. But I just wonder, as I talk to you now, whether he has gone and done what my parents would have done, popped down the road, because Lambrook's not that far. It's probably about a mile and a half from Ascot, and popped in and said, and get the headmaster or the headmaster's wife to announce, George, your parents are here,
Mhm.
or something like that, or Charlotte and Louis, your parents are here. So,
We've seen a lot of Prince George lately too, and he is so sweet. He's going to be a handsome young man, but he doesn't strike me as shy as he's been in past years. He seems to be more confident in this role that he was born into. I mean, maybe it's just maturity or whatever, but he has appeared shy in the past, and I'm seeing more confidence in him on the balcony. Where was he? Where he at what was it? The wedding? Was he at the wedding recently?
I don't think he was at the Phillips's wedding, but I know you've seen. I know what you're saying because
Yeah,
obviously at the trooping we saw him. He does give the impression that he knows the spotlight's on him. So I think and if you're a young lad and you know you're out there and you've got the spotlight, you are going to feel slightly reserved. But I don't know what they feed him at Lambrook or mum feeds him, but he's certainly on a growth spurt.
yeah.
So he's going to be a very tall lad come the time because obviously I think his birthday comes up soon as well. So off he goes to Eton. But I think we might end up with something like a 6'5" future king at this rate, the way he's
Oh my
growing. So.
gosh. That
He's going to be a big lad. But
we would
anyway,
we have to admit that those would be Spencer genes. Well, I don't know. Prince
yeah,
Philip was tall. Prince Philip was tall.
yeah, and the King's probably 5'10". William's not short.
I
Uh,
think he's 6'2". I could not,
right.
when he walked past me, let me tell you, I was, first of all, I
You
was in
probably faint.
heels.
You probably fainted. Did
I
you
thought
faint?
about it. I was in heels that were much bigger than I wanted them to be. My mom makes fun of me because I love naturalizers. My mom says those are an old lady shoe. They are the most comfortable shoes. But I accidentally got much taller
You've
naturalizers than I
lost me.
wanted
Hang on,
to.
hang on, hang on. Naturalizers. What the heck is
They're
that?
they are very comfortable shoes, and my mom says that they're for old ladies, which insults me. I say to my mom, I am an old lady, and what
Are
does
they
that mean
big
to
heels?
you? They're
Are they big
they're
heels?
they're heels, but they're comfortable. I don't understand why they're more comfortable than other heels. But anyway, they're so I accidentally got ones that were much taller than I preferred. I like a shorter heel. And so I would expect to be as tall as him in said heels. He was still so tall. Like what a
Oh,
dreamboat this guy is.
uh,
I know all of this high vibes, and we do have to end on a sour note. We have to talk
yeah.
about a Meghan potentially coming to the UK for Invictus. This is the will they won't they game that almost makes me sick that we have to play pretty regularly. Will they won't they come for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee? Will they won't they? Will the kids come for the Queen's funeral? Harry and Meghan, it seems like, utilize this as an opportunity for media constantly. You know, I am surprised at this new report that they are expected to come for Invictus because just last week, People magazine here in the States, Harry and Meghan's preferred outlet, reported that they were not expected to go as of then. You know as well as I do that Ravik requires 30 days notice if they anticipate a July 6th start to Harry's activity. Then that would have been back in June that they should have told Ravik, Meghan, and the children were going to be attending with Prince Harry to ensure that they got the level of security that Harry wants. So what game are they playing if they're telling two different outlets two different things? Yes, all systems go. No, we're not coming unless our security gets through. And then my other question to you would be, based on years of teasing us now with social media pictures of the back of the children's heads, does this not potentially create a storm, bringing them to the UK and to reveal or not reveal, or the mystery of the reveal? I just think chaos, chaos, chaos. What's your takeaway from these new reports?
I hope if they're coming, they're kept away from the media. I think that's what they need to do to build trust with the royal family, that they're not going to go around parading them, that they will, if they're going to Invictus Games to announce their launch in July, then it's just the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, if that is the case, and that the children, wherever they are, if the king wants to spend time with his grandchildren, then that is fantastic. But what I think we have to see from this is they must not say a word about their visit, about what went on. Because if they do, then the trust that they're trying to rebuild with the king and others will fall flat on their face. So Meghan and Harry have to say, right, he's going to see maybe Well Child, which is a charity that he's deeply committed to.
Values little
And I think that's,
soldiers.
yeah, I think it's absolutely right. And Invictus, absolutely right. But if at any stage the children are, it's a private visit for the children, then their visit should be kept private. And they should not at any stage start, as soon as they get back to the America, then start bleating about what went on, because they shouldn't. And if they do, then I think that will hinder further visits, and that will be deeply disappointing because I'm sure at the heart of it, whatever we think, the king is just hoping that he's a human being after all. And you've seen his interaction with his grandchildren, what he likes and has done. Then I'm sure he was no different with a view to what he would like to have that grandparent interaction with his youngest son's children.
I
But
think
if
it's
at
kind
any
of
stage,
gross to announce that your children are coming if you're not, if you have no intention of anyone seeing the children. Like that feels very odd to me.
well, let's be honest, the whole 4 years has been pretty odd and it's not straightforward. And it is interesting that when we've seen a barrage of publicity around the Prince and Princess of Wales, once again, we have a steam-stealing announcement that they will be coming over in July. It is just so horribly
Predictable.
predictable. And they've done it again. And as you say, 1 minute we're hearing not coming. Now, during Royal Ascot week, there's been lots of pictures of the Princess of Wales and all that. Look, they're coming back. Look, the stars you've been missing are coming back. It just, it is so predictable. It probably, again, who sanctioned that announcement? Did it come out from Harry's team or did it come out from the royal team? If it came out from the Harry team, then it's the same old, same old. And, they want to control the narrative and they're doing it again over this. So
Haven't you
this
felt
trip,
in the last few weeks, like even with that Megan photo dump, haven't you felt like Meghan and Harry don't have the reach and the level of interest that they once did. And so it's almost like desperation that they go to the kids are coming to the UK. The grandkids are coming to the U. To me, Harry at the NBA game, like so strange. Meghan doing that large photo dump. No one cared that Harry was in Time 100's most influential sports figures. They were all like, "Really weird. Let's not acknowledge
How,
it." It just feels,
what? I didn't see that. How the heck is he? I can see William, he's president of the FA.
yeah,
And I can see that he might have some influence. But Harry's got absolutely zilch. Now he goes to the, as an American, living his best life. Think he may have been sitting next to an NBA commissioner in
yeah,
row eight. But
yeah.
so if he was, well, that's great. Enjoying his best life. But at
Mhm.
times you feel that they're trying to present just how much they're enjoying their best life. Where if you want that privacy, as we say time and time again, then shut up and enjoy your best life. But
Mhm.
once again, we're seeing that they're having to re-establish their credentials that they are royalty. And by coming, and Meghan, probably through gritted teeth, will have to get on the plane. And it will be interesting to see what the reaction is if they do some public facing events together from the general public. And that will be a litmus test for them. And I don't know
I
which
would
way.
be sincerely surprised if Meghan did anything beyond Invictus because she'll say she wants to stay with the kids. I do think that she risks being booed if she puts herself out there too much in the UK. And if it weren't
It will be interesting.
unprofessional, I might be one of the ones in the crowd going,
Well,
ah.
no,
But
you have to report on what's going on. You have to be
yeah,
objective rather than subjective. But
rather
my
than a
view is,
participant. Boo.
yeah, we don't need you doing that. What we do need to see, and I think there will be people trying to gauge the mood because it desperately feels like we are desperate to re-establish our royal connections. And they are the ones, maybe they are suddenly realizing what a couple of fools they have been by storming off in saying we're off now and we're on a freedom flight. I mean, let's get a reality. Well, freedom flight to a villa in Montecito is hardly you you going for you were out of you had all the privileges you had before. And as we were saying at the trooping, look what they missed. They could have been there, center stage, getting on with it and making a huge contribution if they'd stuck it around and used their intelligence. But instead, Meghan got precious. Harry went along with it. And he's the one, maybe he's finally getting through to her and saying, right, we've got to start behaving. But then he hasn't helped himself as by writing a book, doing all these things, being in that documentary. He's not helped himself. But maybe finally the penny has dropped that he's got to regroup and maybe get back together with his family. But he mustn't expect some sort of half in, half out relationship. That is just mustn't be allowed to happen from the royal family's point of view because that will be that sets a precedent and actually looks slightly needy on behalf of the rest of the royal family.
Yeah, because Harry and Meghan have proven time and time again, it's a pattern now that they don't do their due diligence when it comes to some of these people and brands that they associate with. And that will reflect poorly on the royal family if there is any sort of official connection there. When Harry and Meghan are taking pictures with Hamas supporters, in Jordan who have Hamas, littered social media accounts, the king will have to respond, the palace would have to respond to that. And so I think that they would be jeopardizing their credibility and their authority if they were to ever give these two an inch. But here's a question. When I watched the Princess of Wales at Ascot today, curtsy to not just King Charles, but Queen Camilla, Zara too. They were the most beautiful curtsies. This has been something that we heard Meghan complain about, mock, compare it to medieval times. To me, it's such a beautiful form of respect and love and appreciation for the monarch and recognizing their the hard work that King Charles does. I socially just spent a week with them and I'm exhausted. And this is his job. And of the one, engagement I would see him at in a day, he still had three or four on his agenda that day. So he is a hard worker. I thought to myself, like, this is the life that Meghan rejected, or Meghan has dismissed some of these protocols as, you know, I don't even know what, archaic. I don't know, but she still insists on being called a duchess. Like, I don't
Well,
understand how you can adopt certain things and not others. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely. And let's remember, you're not curtsying to Charles, you are curtsying to the institution of the fact, the monarch, who is the
Mm.
head of state. It's not let's be absolutely quite clear. The curtsying, you curtsy to the Queen or whoever it is, the King, because you're curtsying, respecting the institution, bearing in mind, through time. So that's what the curtsying is about. It's not, you don't just do it because it's him. You did it if it was whatever it is, the protocol with the late Queen. That is what you are curtsying to. It's the institution, not the individual. You are
And she was
respecting.
marrying into the institution. Why are you not respectful enough to, curtsy, or why are you mocking the
Exactly.
institution you are voluntarily, enthusiastically marrying into?
And that's the whole point of what she did, spoofing the curtsying about the institution of the monarchy, which she has married into and which she has dissed. You aren't, it's not about the Queen. She was saying the institution, but it's a centuries old tradition and it's the way you respect the head of state. Now, you might say it is old fashioned and why do we still do it? But that is at the heart, the tradition of it. And yes, and then that's why you see Mike Tyndall in his case, he bowed in front of the king, took his hat off, and so he's respecting the institution. And then next minute he's giving him a pat on the shoulder because the formalities. Then he's gone into the family relationship side. Just meeting my my wife's uncle. Have I got the genealogy right there? But you see what I mean? That's the point of it. And that's what is so disrespectful of Meghan when she was lampooning the principle of the curtsying and then doing that overinflated gesture, which just shows her lack of intelligence about what she was marrying into. It's hard to forgive that. But if she meets the king this time, she what happens behind closed doors, but she needs to learn to curtsy
Yeah. I
and
was
to do
also
it
thinking,
with charm.
I was thinking of her throughout this trip because I was like, why did she give up this life? I'm having the time of my life. Why would she give this up? And also in several of the pamphlets, is the brochures is the wrong word, pamphlets is the wrong word, but when you go to church, when you go to Garter, like, they give you the prayers that are being read, they give you the hymns that you're about to sing, and the national anthem, and all of those things are within this book. And there was Meghan lying to Oprah Winfrey, in my opinion, going, no one taught me anything. I had to Google this, I had to Google that. I'm like, you're handed the words to God Save the King, God Save the Queen when you enter the church. You are so full of it.
Well, and the point is, she also was marrying a man who knows about it.
Yeah,
Why can't he just educate her?
right.
And I'm sorry, this is the problem. It's so weak, that argument.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people who are prepared to give her advice. The Duchess of Edinburgh was prepared to mentor her and help her navigate way. And yes, if you're as she had to navigate when she married into the family, when the Princess of Wales married into the family, coming from the outside in, from more normal, non-titled family, not members of the aristocracy, just normal families. And so they were there to help, but she dissed that help. But the real problem for her was she didn't like being the supporting actress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she is now married. married now, I think, well, to the fifth or sixth in line to the
I
throne,
think now
which,
she's more
if,
along the lines of an extra. I mean, she has become, I
well,
hate,
now she's a,
this is, we're overusing this word when we're talking about her. I just had this conversation with Matt Wilkinson. Irrelevant. But I mean, truly, it fits. The supporting role was like peak for her because now she's become a laughing stock. No one misses them. No one was thinking. You saw me with Mark Dolan. Mark Dolan was like, there was one person, everyone was
mm,
noticeably absent. Prince Harry. I was like, excuse me, absolutely
yeah,
not. Rupert Bell and I were in hog heaven. We didn't think
yeah,
about Prince Harry once. But actually did think about him later when I went to the Grenadier Guards offices and looked at the wall of medals and looked at some of the unique history regarding the guards
oh,
because I thought you gave up this life for what? To surf and smoke weed? No, thank you, sir. This is the life of service. This is something to be proud of. This history, this dedication, discipline. This is a life of service.
yeah. And well, the Grenadiers, if I got my history right, were founded in 1656 during the Commonwealth, and obviously with King Charles II, and the history of an extremely proud regiment, the five regiments of the Foot Guards. Coldstream number two, Scots Guards three, Welsh Guards, Irish Guards, the last of them. But proud institutions and the history of the Grenadier Guards is a fascinating one through the years. But he has missed the point because he couldn't bring himself to say, well, this is what I should do, I serve. And yet because I don't, as I say, he's a little bit not much going on between the ears that unfortunately he got blindsided by his wife. And look, he can be as happy as he likes. And I hope he has got a happy marriage and he is happy with his children. But I'm not sure he's got enough to fulfill himself now because he hasn't got something that he can think, well, I can do this and I will make an impact and I'll work hard at it. When you're a member of the royal family, yes, can afford the time, but things get done for you.
Yeah.
You're not having to worry about too much. And
Mm-hmm.
yet you then can do your role of service, which is draining. Because if you think about it, as we've said before, he's every time they go out, they're in a goldfish bowl. Prince and Princess of Wales were in an Ascot goldfish bowl today, and she stood out in that bright yellow dress magnificently, so for everyone could catch a glimpse of her. Well chosen. Probably annoying the Ascot authorities because this year the big red tomato, well, tomato colour was supposed to be the colour of choice at Ascot this year, so she didn't get the memo. But she wore a striking yellow outfit that stood out so that everybody at Ascot, as she went past in the procession, could see her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was clever and easy to photograph and good work on the on her people who were planning her outfits. And just as the blue outfit that she wore at the trooping and other outfits, she's been dressed extremely well at the moment, and that was a really good sort of call. And that's what Meghan and Harry don't realise is that was the power of the future king and queen at work today, embracing, making sure they're seen and to be seen to be having a good time at what is a big social occasion for a lot of people. And I have to say, I had the privilege of meeting a chef today, and there was a magnificent moment. You're in Hollywood and you have A-list actors coming by. Well, today there was a veritable who's who of the culinary kings and queens of London on show. Raymond Blanc, Simon Rogan, Yannick Aloni. I mean, just to name but three being photographed. And then I saw the most magnificent moment of two of the best chefs around, Raymond Blanc and Yannick Aloni, and they were just having a little chat. And it was just fascinating. You imagine saying, well, how good's my sauce? Because they're both French,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What are you doing with your hollandaise? And as someone I work with, Lizzie Kelly, said to me, I bet those chefs can cook some mean omelets. So
I
have
bet
an
you're right.
omelet off with that group of chefs. But that's what Ascot's about. It's a social occasion, it's racing occasion, and it's a fashion occasion. And I've got to make sure I've got a clean shirt for tomorrow for another 3 days of it and
Yeah,
another
because it's late
waistcoat.
for you. It's late for you. So we're gonna let you go because you've got Ascot tomorrow as well. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go, but you have done such a great job of keeping us in the mix and recapping the last week with me. Agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And Rupert, it was a pleasure to spend time with you last week.
Well, it was a pleasure, even though you ran off. But there we go. I'll forgive you. I've put it behind me. The trauma, the heartache, but otherwise, great to catch up.
We met up again at the picnic. We met up again. We
Yeah,
reunited.
we had our moment.
Yeah.
But we'll meet up when you next come over and have a bit more time together. And I'll just keep you under lock and key so you don't run off after some other royal correspondent.
All right. We look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.